Wouldn't have been the first time today. Hello, this is Paul Doughty with the Leading the Industry podcast at Silvercreek Realty. Today I have Jodi Peterson-Stigers. She's the Executive Director of Interfaith Sanctuary. We are really happy to have you here, and thanks for coming on late notice. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
So I want to start off with just a high-level understanding. Could you tell us a little bit about the sanctuary, where you're located, and what you do?
So Interfaith Sanctuary is a low-barrier shelter, and what that means to our community is that everyone's welcome there, no matter race, religion, sexual orientation, sobriety. We're a safe space. We just ask for behavioral code that allows people to stay safe in our building. We keep families together when they stay with us, and we offer a lot of special programs. We used to be, in its founding, an overnight shelter. You come in, you have a place to lay your head, you get a meal, and then you leave in the morning. We've grown to be a lot more than that. We offer on-site programs. We have a recovery program, a mental health program, a family program, a food service training program. So we're all about kind of finding a way to help people move forward.
Yeah.
And everyone's different. They need different options.
What program are you most particularly excited about right now?
I think the one that is probably what makes my heart do this work is our senior medically fragile. There's a lot of our senior citizens who are getting displaced because of the housing market price increase and the loss of assisted care beds, and they're ending up in the streets. And so we've been able to, because we have the hotel shelter right now, bring them inside, get them home health, even sometimes hospice care, help manage their medical needs to get them stronger and keep them off the street. It's a temporary location that we have, but we're building a new shelter that will actually have a permanent medical dorm, hospice rooms, and senior programming. So
That's
I think,
excellent.
Yeah, it's necessary. Like, we have to be better at taking care of our most valued citizens.
What is the biggest challenge the Interfaith Sanctuary has right now?
I think having enough funding streams to do all the work that's necessary. There's a lot more need in our community. There's a lot of new homelessness in our community. There's a lot of trauma and stress. And what we're trying to do is create more access and resources. But everything's more expensive too.
Right.
And so, like, we love the work. We learn from our guests what's needed. We need more opportunities for funding to come our way, to be recognized as like a real solution within our community. And that means city, state, county leaning in to make us be sustainable so that we can do this work that we've chosen to do and where many others don't want to do it.
Are there any particular opportunities right now that our watchers can participate in?
Well, I mean, right now we have our new building. We just did the groundbreaking on April 18th. So we're starting construction on a 42,500 square foot shelter campus. Right now we're in a 10,000 square foot warehouse. And this campus is going to be able to accommodate 96 families with babies and children. And it's got rooms for the medically fragile. It's got a big back area with parks and play areas. The kids have their own area with their families. And I think the way to help is donations go a long way right now.
Right. You were mentioning earlier that there's an opportunity of a match that's going on through August. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So we have a donor who has given us $1 million match. We have to match that $1 million with $1 million by August 31st. But anyone who donates between now and then, it doubles their donation. So if you give me $1, it means $2. If you give me $2,000, it's $4,000.
Right.
So it's a very impactful match right now.
So funding is clearly the biggest need. But what is the second most? What's the secondary need for the Interfaith Sanctuary?
Volunteering. And that's for two reasons. One is because to do the work we do well, you need to have assistance. The work is about caring for people. You don't need to be a caseworker or a social worker or anything like that to be able to help our guests.
Help me understand that, because when you say volunteer, in my finite mind, I think, our family going to help at the soup kitchen.
Right.
I think my brain is a little finite when it comes to, aside from the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
Tell me what you mean by volunteering.
So volunteering at Interfaith can mean a few different things. If you want to volunteer at the main emergency shelter, you come in the evening and you help us with guest intake. You help us with food service out of our food service truck. We serve about 220 meals a night to make sure that our guests and guests who are possibly unsheltered, not staying with us, will have a meal.
Right.
You help with hospitality, meaning that we hand out towels and hygiene items so people can get their showers. You sit and talk quietly with someone who's maybe had a particularly bad day. Sometimes we have events, we do barbecues, things like that. You can sign up to help with that. But the general volunteer position at our emergency shelter is basically helping us do our nighttime operations.
Does the nighttime operation, this is a silly question, does that go through the night to the morning? Or does it stop?
Yeah, it stops. It's 5 to 9.
Okay.
Monday through Sunday. And then the hotel shelter is a little different. We have senior citizens, medically fragile, and families with children. Our volunteers over there, if they're coming in the evening, do activities with the kids. They might sit and help, with the senior meal service. They might actually do their very own activities. A lot of people bring their fun to us.
Are there any limitations to age where you as a family could go and volunteer?
There are no limitations. As long as you're with your children, you can come to both shelters. I think it's often that the family will say, man, we wanted to teach our kids how to, help other people. And boy, did they end up helping us, because you get such great perspective.
Right.
There's a lot of wisdom that can be learned from the guests who stay at our shelters.
I want to make sure that I use the proper terminology. I had written in my notes, homeless. Mm-hmm. What is the proper terminology?
It's such a great question, and it's asked of me a lot. And I answer for my guests because that's how I got the answer. And the reason why I know the answer is because we were doing this task force, and we were being kind of instructed as we talk about homelessness that here's some articles to read about how we should refer to people who are homeless. And there was people with lived experience who were also in this meeting with me. And they said it is better to say unhoused or currently without housing.
Okay.
And the people who had lived experience said, we're homeless. Yeah. They were bored and tired of the conversation because they don't care what you call them as long as you work on the solution. Like, right. That is just a kind of like, boy, do I have a lot of time on my hands to worry about how I'm going to be referred as. So I respect them. And
okay. So we're not stepping on toes.
We're not.
So let me ask you this, then within that community, are there subgroups that are particularly vulnerable or that are needing additional attention to provide for?
Oh, I mean, every group, like we have the LGBTQ group that is young and losing housing, that is far too young to be out on the street. And it's so vital to be able to pull them in and get them to take support, because they're either going to go straight down or we're going to find a way to get them safe. And that's a really challenging group for us to get to engage right now. Like, I'm bringing pickleball to the shelter because I think that maybe if I can engage them in like a lighthearted activity, that it will get them to maybe come a step closer. But then the senior citizens are probably another huge concern. Like, we can't fit everyone at the hotel. They're sitting out in their wheelchairs. It's heartbreaking. So I think just being able to recognize the need and come up with ways of offering support and some sort of quick and comfortable solutions.
So the topic of homelessness that's a serious conversation.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's lighthearted or fun or something that makes you smile about the whole situation?
Every day of the work that I get to do and the programs that we get to deliver. So at our shelter, we are aware of the problems and we are driven by solutions. We don't sit around and complain about them. We come up with ways.
Right.
And so one of the things that we have learned is that our guests are unbelievably creative. We had art therapy for a while during our mental health programming and realized these are very talented people. So we started this program called the Homeless Art Collective. We raise funds to buy the material so that our guests can create. Mm-hmm. Their creations are now being sold at St. Vincent de Paul. We have our very own retail space called the Homeless Art Collective, and our guests are earning supplemental income because of their creativity.
Very neat.
It's awesome. We have a newspaper called Word on the Street. Our guests, and even those who are choosing to be outside, but they come to the editorial meetings, which are awesome because we talk about what we want to address each month, and they write poems and they write stories and they do deep dive articles about the things that are ticking them off, just like we get ticked off. And we have a custom cartoon, and it's called Word on the Street, and it's amazing. The Idaho Press prints 30,000 of them every month.
Wow.
And it's great.
That's neat.
And then probably my favorite story of the season is that we did just start doing pickleball. And
that's exciting.
It's awesome. And we brought it to kind of our daytime programming. And there's a guest who he's older in age. He's got some physical disabilities, like he's got some Parkinson's and some arthritis in his hands, and he can't really stand on his legs for a long time. But like we adapted the pickleball clinic for him. So I was kind of his partner, and he was learning how to like bounce the ball on his racket, bounce the ball down. And then it came time to like rally. And so he was actually kind of hitting the ball back, but I didn't have enough precision. So I asked, Pete Peterson is actually the director of our pickleball program.
Right.
And I'm like, will you hit with him? And they ended up having this 20-point rally. And afterwards, like the smile on this man's face, and now he's like really working on his fitness so that he can actually play more pickleball.
Excellent.
It inspired
it's
him.
Inspirational. It's very cool.
We have the video. We happen to be videoing that day. And like after the last hit of that ball, he looks up and the smile on his face, like we have so much joy. We have so many joyful moments.
Just hearing about all those different programs gives me a lot of hope, and I really appreciate you sharing that. I wanted to ask, it's political in the sense because we are all defined by political boundaries, state, city. As I drive through Portland, Oregon, for example, last month, you see how homelessness is so serious of an issue. Are there any communities or towns or cities in the U.S. that you feel are doing a great job of taking care of the indigent? And what are they doing different than we are? And if you don't know, that's okay.
I think Boise, Idaho is doing a great job, which you can tell by how little visibility there is right now of our homeless population. I think we're about to do a really bad job because the numbers are getting bigger. And what happened in those other cities is that they didn't do what they needed to do in the moment they needed to do it because they were looking for every reason why not to. And we're kind of doing that right now. Interfaith Sanctuary and the shelter that we're building, I believe, is a model for the nation. I think we will teach people how to serve better.
I love hearing that.
Yeah. Our shelter will be 24/7. They won't have to find a place to be during the day, which is one of the number one reasons why people don't get better.
Right.
It's because they suffer trauma every day that they have no place to be. And so the number one thing this building does, it can hold everyone in place. They can leave. They can go to work. They can go to school. They can go on a bike ride. But they can come back anytime they want and lay on their bed and take a nap or go into the library.
Right.
And that's going to be game changing. And that's what most cities don't do yet, is they don't hold people safely until they get the affordable units up.
Along those lines, how can a community know if they're taking care of what's the right word?
Of their neighbors?
I wrote indigent, so neighbors. There's a good way.
Yeah.
Let's rephrase that. How can a community know if they're taking care of their neighbors?
If everyone has a place to be. If we have considered all of our neighbors and have we created enough spaces where people can be safe day and night.
And that makes sense. The common Maslow's hierarchy that we all study in high school, the very first indication or first need, having a place to sleep, having a place,
shelter.
that you can shelter.
Yeah.
So that being a great indicator of where we are at as a community.
Yeah.
I don't live in Boise any longer, but I have certainly noticed that I don't see many people on the streets. Of course, I see panhandling and things like that, but I don't watch people on cardboard boxes sleeping that I do in other cities. And
not yet.
Well said. So I commend you and the board of directors and those volunteers and the donators who are making those efforts to alleviate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's if you're looking for a million different reasons of why you would donate to a homeless shelter, I think we went over at least 500 of them,
Right.
Because that's how many people were able to kind of serve and not have them be out on the street. Our shelter can hold 205 people. Without those shelters, you have people sleeping on cardboard in the city streets.
Right.
If you don't have the beds, you're not providing solutions.
Just reading your demeanor and your disposition, you are a really positive person, and I really appreciate it, and you're very tactful. But I did write a question here, and maybe it is to prompt you a little bit to remove a little bit of that filter. But I wrote that Mahatma Gandhi said, "The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members." And so, putting aside that tactfulness,
I can easily do that.
If you were to talk to our agents and say, "This is what we need," what would be your message?
We need to allow building to happen in every neighborhood. We need to support the rewriting of the zoning code, so that more dwellings can come up in neighborhoods. And we need to be super mindful, not letting bad ideas stop good ideas. And bad ideas come from bad intentions,
right?
Mean thoughts, mean spirit, not in my neighborhood. We have to fight against that. And so many people show up to say why no, and not many people show up to say why yes. And so in your group of people who are all about housing people, your voice really matters when it comes to getting the right kind of housing up. We need duplexes and we need fourplexes, and we don't need just single family dwellings. We need to increase units. Homelessness is a housing problem. It means that, this is a great analogy, if there's 10 people and there's 10 chairs and someone turns the music on, and you're walking around, and then the music stops, but the host took away one chair. Everyone scrambles as fast as they can to get to the 9 chairs, but one guy's on crutches, and he couldn't get to the chair. It's not his fault. There wasn't a 10th chair.
Right.
But the way that homeless are looked at, somehow it's their fault that they don't have housing. It's not. It's that there's not enough housing for people, the right kind of housing. So we have to fight to make sure that there are ways in which people can live in every part of our city.
I love that, because it's not just a central center in Boise that you see people that are struggling, right?
Right.
You can see it in Kuna.
Right.
You can see it in Post Falls. You can see it in Pocatello. You can see it everywhere. It doesn't have to be the capital city,
right,
where this Red Lion Hotel is located. It's needed in Shoshone, Idaho. I really appreciate that. So now I want to ask you, is there something pressing that this is not being, I mean, yes, it is being recorded, but is there something pressing that you wanted me to ask you that I haven't asked, or phrased in a way that you wanted to get out and say, I wish Paul had asked me about this? I
feel like you did a really great job, quite honestly. I loved your questions.
Do go on. Okay.
I mean, you hit the million reasons, which is super important because we're all about
no touchy
fundraising.
Okay.
I don't know. I think you did a really good job. I think.
Let's try to get one last soundbite out of getting them to donate in that million, because I don't think we hit that quite well yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to say is what is if our agents can do something in the next 15 minutes, as direct as you can, tell us what we need to do. That's how we're going to say it. Okay. Okay. Will that work?
Totally.
Okay.
But just don't have them go today because the link's not up yet. Will it go out today?
3-4 months from now.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Oh, no.
It's okay.
The match will be, May, June, July, August.
Okay.
August 31st.
Okay. Oh, no, it'll be perfect. It'll be like 30 days before.
Perfect.
So we're going to push
30 days instead of 15 minutes.
Well.
Okay, say 15 minutes. That's better.
Well, yeah, like next hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the final message to our agents would be what?
So right now we have $1 million match. So if all of you could go to interfaithsanctuary.org in the next 15 minutes and donate to our new building. It's called A Million Reasons Why, and the million reasons why are that they'll become 2 million if we can get the money in by August 31st.
August 31st is the key date.
It's the key date, and it'll double their investment, which anyone in real estate knows that's a good investment.
I would take that all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Jodi, I really want to thank you for being here with me and talking about the Interfaith Sanctuary, and also just talking about homelessness in general and what the needs are out there. Thank you so much for sharing also the positive things, because that also excites us as well. Thank you for being here.
It was an honor, and it was fun. And tell your mom hi.
I will.